So let's get started with today's Q&A. There are three really good questions that I'm going to dive into here. I think these are relevant to more than just the people who asked. So I'm excited that they were brought up. And I even had to do a little research and dig in for you guys here to get some answers a little bit. Some of it was a little out of my expertise as well. So I got to learn something new today too. Hopefully you guys do as well. So first question was about, and I got my notes pulled up here. First question was about weight gains and medications, specifically antidepressants, specifically SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. So let's dive into that. There are definitely medications that can cause weight gain, unfortunately. The big classes of medications that cause weight gain, the first and most obvious is steroids, but usually, hopefully, those are temporary, not long-term. Antidepressants, absolutely a group. Hormones and birth control, definitely a group. And then some smaller groups that we see smaller effects with would be diabetes drugs and antihistamines. And, there's a whole long list. It's always a listed side effect, but I would say the three big groups are antidepressants, hormone, anything related to hormones, and the steroids. And those are pretty commonly prescribed drugs. So getting into specifically into antidepressants, there are groups of antidepressants that can cause more weight gain. There are groups of antidepressants that are more neutral. And then they've even found some that cause weight loss, which is a nice bonus. So how does it actually work? That's the question I was wanting to dive into. How are these actually causing weight gain? Because some of it is just environmental, to where, especially with antidepressants, if someone is depressed, they might not have the energy to maybe go work out or eat well or something like that. So it's a little bit hard to differentiate when it's just an environmental thing or actually a physiological mechanism going on causing the weight gain. So, but with antidepressants, they have done some research and identified what those mechanisms are that is causing the weight gain. So the first thing I want to note is, to know if it's truly the medication causing the weight gain, you want to be very intentional. And unfortunately, a lot of you are probably past this window, but you want to be very intentional about that first 30 days you're on a medication, the first month. And you really don't want to change anything in your routine. You don't want to change your exercise. You don't want to change your eating habits. You don't want to change your sleep patterns. You don't want to change anything. You don't want to have any other variables going on, because the research shows that a 3% gain in body weight is enough to signal that this is a medication that's going to continue to cause you weight gain. So 3% is not a lot. If you weigh 120 pounds, 150 pounds, it's only a few pounds within a month. And some of us might just write that off, because body weight can easily fluctuate a couple pounds just around our period and things like that. But the research shows that if you gain 3% body weight within the first 30 days, this medication is likely to continue to cause weight gain throughout the time that you're on the medication. That is scary. Usually these medications, it's not just this all at once, like, oh, I started this medication, I gained 20 pounds. It's a very slow creep. It's 3%, and then 3% the next month, and then 3% the next month. And before you know it, you've been on this medication a year and you're up 20 or 30 pounds. An extra few pounds packed on in that first month, that is a sign that you may need to go back and ask for a different medication. So again, we may be past that point, we may be past that 30-day window, but still, if you feel like all your other variables are the same and you gained a few pounds even just at the beginning, that may be a red flag that this might be not the right medication for you. So how do these medications, specifically these antidepressants and SSRIs, how do they cause weight gain? So what they do is, obviously, they are interacting with your brain chemistry, and specifically one area that they affect is the neurotransmitters associated with satiety. So something you want to think about when you're on these medications is, do you feel like you have appropriate hunger signaling? What these medications are known to do is remove or block the receptors for satiety. So you are not getting that fullness signal that you should normally get when eating, so you're more prone to overeating. So take some inventory and reflect on, is that what's going on? Obviously there's other mechanisms at play, but that's the big one that they've identified. It's called this H1 receptor, and that gets blocked, and that's your satiety receptor, and it gets blocked when you're on these medications. There was another receptor, let me see in my notes here, that had a little bit of a different mechanism. Had some crazy name to it. Let's see here. I thought I had it in my notes. Oh yeah. Yeah, there was something called this 5-HT2C receptor. And when they studied this on mice, it gets blocked in through this medication. And when they did this study on mice, when they blocked this receptor, the mice became obese. So that one's a little more nuanced because that one has really been looked at only with mice, but we don't know as much about this receptor. But it's just interesting that there's several mechanisms going on that are making you more prone to weight gain. And so you feel like you're doing, everything the same. I hear this a lot, like I didn't change anything, but I'm suddenly gaining weight. That is something to pay attention to. And the great thing about the antidepressant world is that there are so many medications. And so obviously it's not your choice and you can't please don't just stop taking a medication. But you can go back to your psychiatrist and ask to see if there's any other options that could work for you. So I'm going to go through some names of some antidepressants that are more prone to weight gain. I am not a medication expert, so hopefully I say these names right. But there are definitely classes of medications within antidepressants that cause weight gain more than others. So the big category that you want to pay attention to for antidepressants is what's called tricyclic antidepressants. They're a little bit older generation of antidepressants, but these are the classic group that is known to cause weight gain. So we want to be paying attention to those. So the big ones that cause weight gain, the names that you might be familiar with, I kept seeing Paxil come up everywhere. Paxil is one of them. Elavil, again, I might not be saying these right. Lexapro, Zoloft, and Cymbalta, Celexa. These are more common names. These are more often known to cause weight gain. The groups that are less likely to cause weight gain, Wellbutrin kept coming up. And actually even that one could be associated with weight loss. And then MAOIs, they're called monoamine oxidase inhibitors. That's a really old group of antidepressants that actually is really neutral when it comes to weight loss. So you've got a lot of options. Don't be afraid to stick up for yourself. Don't be afraid to talk to your psychiatrist about these side effects and pay really close attention because it's a slow creep and you might not be thinking 1 or 2, 3 pounds is a lot, but it starts to add up really fast. And there are a lot of other options out there that might be better for you, because the hard thing is we always want to think about root cause with weight loss. And if your root cause is medication, it's kind of like you're just fighting this uphill battle. The root cause is still there. We have that weight gain, that we're just fighting from this medication that's really hard to counter. So that was a great question. I feel like this is a conversation that doesn't happen a lot. So great question. Talk to your psychiatrist and see if there's other options out there for you. All right, the next question was about collagen. There is a section in the portal, some of you saw this, where I mentioned that collagen is not a supplement or a protein powder that you want to be using all the time. And some of you were concerned that there was something wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. Collagen's a great supplement. So let's start out by talking about what collagen is and what it does in the body and why it's a great supplement. So collagen, you guys are probably familiar with. It's responsible for that elasticity in your body. Think about tendons and joints. It's like a glue. It's like a lubricant. Collagen is super important for just overall health in the body, from muscles, joints, tendons, skin, things like that. Unfortunately, collagen does start to decline as we get older. That's why it has become such a popular supplement. So after the age of around 30, 35, you start to actually have less and less collagen. And then I think let me check my notes. Yeah, at age 40, collagen starts, you start losing more collagen than you can produce. So you start getting into a deficit. By age 60, you're at half of the collagen that you originally had in your prime time. So every decade, you are slowly being depleted of collagen. And so that is why it's become such a popular supplement, because your body truly does stop making it and you need more than you are producing. So collagen is a great supplement. It's just like a protein powder. It's usually, if you've never used it before, it's typically unflavored, which I love because you can just throw it in lots of things, lots of drinks, coffee, smoothies, hot chocolate, stuff like that. The reason I made that note in the portal is because collagen is not a complete protein. So a complete protein means that it has all 9 essential amino acids, essential meaning your body cannot produce them. And so collagen is missing one essential amino acid, tryptophan. And so that just means, when I made that comment, it just means you need more variety than just collagen. So that's why I recommend rotating collagen with another protein powder, because typically other protein powders have all those amino acids. So just rotate it out. My only goal with that comment is just to make sure you're not exclusively using collagen, especially if you were like vegetarian or vegan and not getting a complete protein source there. So animal meats are complete proteins. Regular protein powder that comes from whey is a complete protein, but collagen is not. It's just missing one, tryptophan, which is found in lots of things like turkey. Tryptophan, turkey is easy to remember, and other animal meats, nuts and seeds, things like that. So just making sure you're getting a variety of protein sources, that is what's most important. So collagen, though, is great. Definitely use a lot of it, especially if you are aging past 40. You're going to need extra collagen because your body just can't keep up anymore. And then the last question actually kind of builds on this. It was, how do I get more protein if I'm not really into animal meats? I think this is a great question. I think a lot of us honestly should be exploring protein options that are not so animal based, thinking about environmental concerns and stuff like that. Or we just have picky eaters who don't want to eat a lot of animal protein. I get it. So I brainstormed some really good ideas here, some recipes. I think you guys are going to like some of these ideas. I've used a lot of these myself. So the first group of recipes here fall under black beans. Black beans are awesome. And typically we just think beans. I feel like we think of beans in just like Mexican recipes, or maybe in a taco or a salad, but they're so versatile and they're so high in protein. So black beans could be also used in, aside from, the traditional uses in Hispanic recipes, things like black bean burgers are really popular. If you haven't already seen in the portal, I have this recipe for black bean brownies. I absolutely love. You will never know that there are beans in there. I promise you. Please give these recipes a chance. They sound weird, but they're great. I just saw a recipe for black bean brownie smoothie. I have not tried that one, but it sounds really good. And again, you won't know that there's beans in there, I promise. Beans could be in soups. They could be in salads. You could also think about lentils, chickpeas, things like that. Roasted chickpeas are a great snack. And then my favorite recipe with chickpeas is chickpea cookie dough. It's so yummy. I've made it many times. Just Google the recipe. Super yummy. So beans, lentils, legumes, think about alternative ways to use those, and again, there's way more than what you might traditionally associate those ingredients with. And then the next group of recipes I have is ways to use protein powder that you might not normally think of. So obviously you can put protein powder in a smoothie. We all know that, but there are other ways to use protein powder. So I like doing it in oatmeal. Oatmeal is traditionally just so high in carbs, and you really need to balance that carb and protein ratio, especially in the morning. You need to keep that blood sugar balance. So throw it into protein. I like throwing it into Greek yogurt. Yes, Greek yogurt already has protein, but you can amp up the protein even more. A recipe I used to do all the time, I had this s'mores protein powder, and I would mix that in plain Greek yogurt. I put a little chocolate chips. I would actually do that as a dessert. It was so good, or as like a post-workout treat. So protein powder, those are 2 ways to mix it in. Protein pancakes, I talk about this all the time. Kodiak cakes, super yummy. They even have waffles if your kids are more into that. You can do chia seed, like overnight oats with protein powder in it. Those are super easy to prep at the beginning of the week and then have for an easy to grab breakfast in the morning, or those could be great snacks too. I found a recipe for protein powder banana bread. I haven't tried it. Sounds super yummy. And then again, going back to that collagen, how could you throw collagen in some different drinks that you might be having? So that's the protein powder group. And then I have some other random ideas. Dips and sauces, you can make higher protein. So you could do like a Greek yogurt ranch dip. You can do, I saw Tammy had a great, like a high protein buffalo sauce that sounded really good. I've done like a Greek yogurt chicken salad. So putting some more protein in those sauces. I was also thinking about things like tofu. I love throwing tofu into pastas, into salads. It's so easy. I do it in the air fryer. In the oven, it takes forever. I do not use the oven anymore. I just throw them in the air fryer. You cut them up, you dry them, you put a little cornstarch and oil, and you stick them in the air fryer, and they take about 15 minutes. Or you can just, honestly, they're so good and crispy, you can eat them as a snack. So tofu is a great way to throw some protein in. Hemp seeds are another underutilized protein source. Hemp seeds has more protein than any other nut or seed. Or sorry, any other seed. I can't say that about nuts. So hemp seeds, throwing that in your smoothie, throwing that in your oatmeal, throwing that in your yogurt, throwing that in your salad. Just keep some hemp seeds on hand and just sprinkle them whenever you find it appropriate. Egg bites. Egg bites. I'm making some today. I think these are so great to have prepped and ready. They literally take 5 minutes to prep. You can just keep them in the fridge. They're just like those Starbucks ones that you may have tried. They're super yummy. You can do all kinds of variations. You can do super high protein versions. Like today, I'm going to do ham and egg and cheese. You could do sausage, you could do bacon, or you can keep them vegetarian and just throw some veggies in. You could do like spinach and kale and bell pepper and stuff like that. So there's so many variations. Everyone can find a combination that they like. And they are so easy to prep, and you can use them as breakfast or you can use them as snacks. And then the last thing would be high protein pasta, Banza pasta. There's other brands doing it now too. But load up on your protein pasta, and then say you're having a protein pasta and then you add some chicken and you add a sauce in there. You're getting double protein. You could add some beans in there. You could do triple protein. You always want to be using that. If you're doing pasta, always do the protein pasta. That is like my rule. I don't do any pasta that's not a protein pasta. So that's an easy way, and everyone loves pasta, and you really can't tell the difference. So lots of ideas there. I know I threw out a lot of ideas. Just Google any recipes. I might have a couple I can drop in the Facebook group, but these are some really easy ways to sneak in more protein. A lot of it's just getting creative and knowing what's even a possibility. You probably didn't even know chickpea cookie dough was a thing. You probably didn't even know protein banana bread was a thing. It's just expanding like your horizon of what's even like out there and can taste good. And that's what we are here for. So great questions today. Thank you guys for submitting these. Please submit more questions next month at my Q&A. And I'm excited to see what you guys come up with in the future. Bye guys.